Hey guys, welcome to this new video about APS-C cameras versus full-frame cameras. What are the differences? What are pros and cons for both systems? And what is important to know about remake a photo with a full frame on a APS-C camera and the other way around. I don't want to be very technical in this video, but I have to start technical because the difference APS-C versus full frame comes or depends on the sensor. That's an APS-C camera, the Z50 from Nikon, and the Z6 Mark II is filming right now. That's a full frame camera, and like I said, the sensor is the main difference. An APS-C sensor has a size around 49 to 22.3 millimeter, and a full frame sensor has a size around 24 to 36 millimeter. And this sensor size difference has an impact on your photos. We will talk about this a little bit later. I have a few examples and we can compare it a little later on. But first of all, I really want to encourage you to go out and try it by yourself. Maybe you have a friend, maybe when you have a APS-C camera and a friend of you has a full frame camera or the other way around, really try it out. Try to set up a tripod and have a nice background, maybe a person in front of the camera, and then try to make a picture with a full frame and then with the APS-C. So, and now I want to show you the difference. First of all, we start with the crop factor. Maybe you already heard that. Crop factor is mainly or only on APS-C camera because the crop factor is the difference between the full frame and the APS-C camera. The Nikon Z50 has a crop factor around 1.53 times. So I will blend. What does it mean? Maybe. What does it mean? That's the important question. I will show you this picture. That is, I took this with a Nikon Z6 full frame, 1.8 aperture. And you can see the background is blurry and there are some details in the foreground, etc. pp. So, and now I will show you this picture. This is a picture I took with the Z50, also 1.8 at the same position. I built up a tripod at the same position. I only changed the camera. It's the same lens, 35mm 1.8 lens, what is filming right now. So same conditions, except the camera and the sensor has changed, obviously. And what has happened? APS-C lenses, or not APS-C lenses, APS-C cameras has a natural zoom or the crop factor because APS-C are not zooming. That's important to understand. They are not zooming. They are cropping in because the sensor is not as large as at full frame. His image is a bit more cropped and not so large. That's important to understand. And now when I want to recreate the same photo with this one, with the APS-C camera, I have to go back. I will show it. It's not perfectly, but I tried to recreate as best as I could. But I have to go back 20, 30 millimeters, no, millimeters, centimeters to recreate it. And that is important to understand the crop factor. So you cannot make the same photo at the same position with both cameras. So APS-C is more cropped in than full frame. That's why this crop factor is important, or important to understand maybe. But there's another thing. I will show you this picture. This is with full frame 2.8 And this is with APS-C 1.8. You can see the background is nearly the same, and that's a little rule we can take out. APS-C 1.8 is nearly the same to a full frame 2.8. And like I said, that's the full frame lens, 35mm 1.8. When I go down with the aperture to 1.8, I can create this picture. And that's, more, the background is more blurry. The Räuchermännchen in this case is more, stands more alone. And the bokeh is different. So that's also a reason why many portrait photographers choose full frame, because they can more, stand out their model, and that's a very nice look also. With APS-C, it's not impossible, but it's harder. So maybe also important to have a little this conversion or converting thing. APS-C 1.8 is nearly the same, depends on the background, as full frame 2.8. So the other way around, then now we comes to light intensity. I already said 2.8 is nearly the same to 1.8. So also when it comes to light intensity, the full frame is stronger because more light can come on the sensor because the sensor is larger. And that's very important when you're shooting in dark areas like astrophotography or concert photography or theater photography, everything like that. Then a full frame has a pro. Is a pro to have a full frame. And maybe a little con to have an APS-C camera, because you can open up the aperture more. 1.8, also 1.8, but there comes more light. It's the image is not as noisy as on 1.8 on an APS-C sensor. That's important to know. You can lower the ISO more on full frame, and you're getting a better image. That's important. Hopefully, is it clear? I hope. If not, write down in the comments and I will fix it. So now the important question is, which is better, full frame or APS-C? That depends. I already said full frame has a few advantages, but also disadvantages. Let's start with the advantage. I already said full frame can collect more light onto the sensor, and then you can create better photos in dark areas. They are not so noisy, or not so much noise is in the image. That's a pro, definitely. In APS-C, it's a bit more difficult. You have to getting a higher ISO, and then you get more noise, and that can ruin a picture, unfortunately. Another thing is that on full frame you have the better lenses, definitely. I have a 24 to 70mm and for full frame, but especially the zoom lenses, there are not much good zoom lenses for APS-C. There's nothing like a 24 to 70mm for APS-C with prime lenses. The difference is not as huge. I showed you the difference between 1.8 and 1.8 APS-C to full frame. Yes, there is a difference, but not so much photographers would say, hey, that's an APS-C camera. Definitely. No, it's a little difference. But zoom lenses make the difference. With a 24 to 70mm on full frame, you are very flexible. But for APS-C, 24 to 70mm would be difficult to use because it's a bit larger and you cannot handle it so good. But when you have when you want to search a specialized 24 to 70mm for APS-C, that would be different to find because there is nothing. There are a lot of good zoom lenses, but not something like 24 to 70mm. Points for APS-C. APS-C camera systems are lighter, They are smaller and they are cheaper. So maybe this combination, this is a 50mm 1.8 for full frame. It costs around 500 euro. An APS-C lens, 50mm would cost 350 euro, I believe. And the Z50 costs around 800. Let's say 350 and 800 are 1,000, let's say 1,200 euro. And with 1,200 euro, you definitely not get Z6. You maybe get Z5, I believe. So, and you have a good package with 1,200 euro. And with full frame, you only get a camera if you have if you have some good options. Maybe you have some good options. At Nikon, you have the Z5. At Sony, it would be difficult. At Canon, even more. Yes, that's definitely a point for APS-C. Also, the lenses are quite good and quite cheap. That's also a point. Another point is you can use the natural cropping or natural zooming. Remember, not zooming, it's actually cropping. Especially in tele areas. When you're shooting a lot with tele lenses, like, I don't know, 100, maybe also 200, or maybe very extreme 600 millimeters. You can have this with the sensor of an APS-C camera. You are more cropped in. That can help you when you're shooting animals or wildlife photography, or I don't know, whatever you want to shoot. Then that can be an advantage. On the other way, the disadvantage is very often that APS-C cameras don't have so much megapixels, and on a full frame camera you have more megapixels, and then you can zoom in afterwards if it's necessary. So, but naturally you have this advantage of more cropped in, especially in tele areas. So, I forgot one point. No, actually not. We can put it to APS-C also, or we can come to the conclusion. That's maybe better. In general, APS-C cameras or camera systems are more for amateurs or people who start photographing, because they are very light, very small, and because of that, you can just put it into your jacket or something like that. I have a lens for the Z50 that's half of the size of this one, and this is very small, and I can put it everywhere if I want to. With the Z5, with Z6, that's a bit more difficult because it's heavier, it's bigger, and I don't want to bring it with me everywhere. So definitely a good point for for APS-C cameras. They are more, you can took them more in the daily life, I would say. And full frame is more for advanced and professional photographers normally, because they also have more technical, possibilities, and you can create more. You have more freedoms also. Gives us mainly the same features as an APS-C camera, but there are some more features, like I believe has I don't know, animal autofocus in some APS-C cameras is not built in, but in full frame. So I believe the Z50 also have animal autofocus. I don't use it, so I don't know, but I believe it has one. Yes, and after all, both sensors have an individual look. Maybe you have to learn it when you have both camera systems, so full frame and APS-C. But there is nothing better or worse. When you start photographing, just took an APS-C camera. It's good enough. APS-C have pros, full frame has pros. What is important? Important is that you understand the differences. When you have friend of you who have an APS-C camera and you have a full frame, you need to understand why the image of both of you is different. Maybe you also have both an APS-C and a full frame and you wonder why is this different. In many cases, the difference is not as important. When you just have an APS-C camera, it's not as important. You only have to understand why the images of this guy who has a full frame camera and you have an APS-C camera is different than yours. In general, what is important for you to buy, I cannot say that. You have to, to say what is your budget, what do you want to spend for photography. But let me say, APS-C cameras are not bad. APS-C cameras are good, especially for starting photography. I also start with a Canon 350D. It's APS-C camera. It's good enough. When you want to shoot astrophotography, maybe it would be better to spend a little bit more money to have a full frame. But in the most cases, 95% of the cases, you don't get a very big difference between full frame and APS-C sensor. Not the technical things. Full frame has more power, obviously. It costs also more. But mainly, just spend the money you want for, just set a budget and spend the money you want to spend for photography. Yes, did I miss anything? No, hopefully not. If you have any more questions, write it down in the comments. I try to answer as fast as possible and as good as possible. And hopefully you learned something, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.